Horus had the two crowns. This is the one with the single crown, Horus the elder. Okay? Now these are the three brothers and the two sisters. They're the main characters of the story. Osiris and Isis get married, and Seth and Nephthys get married. But Seth, who's the god of evil, wanted to marry Isis, his other sister. But to do this, he has to get rid of his brother, Osiris. But then there's a problem there. You cannot just kill the gods. The gods are eternal. You kill them, they come back to life. So he decided to get rid of him by locking him up in a coffin, put him inside a coffin, or actually offered the coffin as a present and asked him to try it on. And as soon as Osiris got into the coffin, he closed the lid over him, sealed it, and threw it in the river. The coffin floated in the river and was lost. When Isis found out what happened to her husband, she changed into a vulture, okay, with wings. Do you remember in Temple of Philae, inside the shrine, there was a figure of her with the wings protecting Osiris? That's where the wings come from. Okay? She changes into a vulture, and she flew all over the country trying to find Osiris' coffin. She couldn't find it anywhere in Egypt, so she went back to her palace crying and weeping, and finally her sister, Nephthys, came to her help and came to her aid, and they both together, again as vultures, went all over the world to look for Osiris and his coffin. They finally found the coffin inside a sycamore tree in Lebanon. Don't ask me how it got there. It's just got there. Okay? That sycamore tree is actually the goddess Hathor, the cow goddess. She's originally the mistress of Sycamore of Lebanon. And she is the sycamore tree that preserved or saved Osiris' coffin. So the three goddesses together now, they free Osiris from the coffin, and they return back with him to Egypt. When Seth found out that his brother is back, he was very upset and decided to kill him, chop him in pieces, and scatter the pieces all over the country so that he cannot be resurrected again. And he did that. He actually killed Osiris, chopped him up in pieces. The number of pieces varies depending on when the story is being recorded or told. It's basically equal to the number of the provinces of Egypt plus one. So when we had 13 provinces in Egypt, there were 14 pieces. When we had 48 provinces, there were 49 pieces. The reason for that is that each one of the pieces was thrown into one of the provinces, and the extra piece was thrown in the Nile, in the river. Isis, the loving wife, still didn't give up. Once more as a vulture, she flew all over the country, collecting the bits and pieces of Osiris from here and there, super gluing him back together and fixing him all up, and she put all the pieces together. She found all the pieces except the one piece that was thrown in the river, which apparently has been eaten up by a fish, by a Nile perch, especially. And for that reason, the kings of Egypt and the priests of Egypt would never eat fish, the Nile fish, especially the Nile perch. The kings of Egypt would never eat Nile perch. It was the main staple diet for the population, but not the kings or the priests. In fact, the king of Egypt would not even speak to a fish eater. Okay? He wouldn't speak to somebody who eats fish because of his that part that the fish played in eating that part of his life. Now, somehow she had to get this piece back. First of all, otherwise Osiris will not be resurrected. If part of your body is missing, he cannot be resurrected. Secondly, even if he was resurrected, she doesn't really want him if he doesn't have that piece. So imagine what piece we're talking about. You've been to the Salman Light in Aswan, and remember they call it his manhood there anyway. They used to the old Salman Lights. But anyway, she traveled all around, further down to the south, asking all the fish and hippos and crocodiles for help. And finally, she located the fish, and somehow managed to convince the fish to spit it back out. And still as a vulture, she held it in her feet, flew all the way back to where the body of Osiris was lying motionless. She screwed it back on, and Osiris comes back to life. He's all complete, and now he comes back to life and resurrected. She was so tired from this very long journey that she sat right on top of Osiris's body, flapping her wings to bring life back to him. But Osiris came back to life. He was a little excited, but very excited, overexcited, and died of excitement. Okay. And was taken down to the underworld, where he became the god of the dead, or the judge of the underworld. While Isis was left pregnant to give birth to Horus, or Her-Ghiret, Horus the child, when he started. When he grew up a little bit, Horus was told by Tuhot, the record keeper of the gods, what has happened to his father, how his uncle has killed his father. And so Horus changes into Horus the Avenger, and he starts revenging his father's death. And on the walls of the temple of Edfu, which is the temple of Horus of Edfu, one of the walls there represent this revenge. Okay, that will be part of the visit that we'll do. Towards the end of the visit, actually, we'll go up to that wall where you see the story of Horus fighting against Set to try and revenge for his father's death. Okay? So I'm not going to tell you the end of the story till we get to the temple.
Great story.
It is.